is I'm going to ask a few questions to our lovely panelists up here, and they're going to run some rabbits, and hopefully we're going to have a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. And then we're going to open it up if we have time for y'all to ask questions. So myths, mysteries, and mishaps, that's why we're here. All right, easy. How did you meet?
You two better start off on that first.
Sean introduced us.
Yes. we don't go that far enough, but
yeah.
Brian and I met at the University of Rhode Island. Brian was a diving safety officer. At the time, I was looking for an easy class. I signed up for Scuba.
And decided to fraternize with the instructor?
I asked him out, and he destroyed my 4.0. As a junior, I had a 4.0, and Brian gave me a B in Scuba. And I still asked him out. I was young, dumb at that point. So, care to chime in? Yeah.
That's why I'm in the middle.
Yeah, that's about it. That was about it. It was, I taught the class there for a long time. I never fraternized with any of the students. My boss is like, you can't, 7 years, here I am as an undergrad teaching the diving program at the university. There are 30 students on the pool deck, classmates of mine, and then 15 minutes later, I'm the professor in front of them teaching this for a number of years. And the boss was my boss. He said, nothing. So blinders on, everything. I had built these major blinders where it was just a student, and I never, like, they'd ask me to go, hey, do you want to go, go to a bar? Do you want to do this, do that? I never hung out with the students after class, but at the end of the year, typically the end semester, they say, hey, you go get a beer. I said, okay, grades are in. Grades are in, I'm good, I'll go get a beer. At the bar and everything, Stephanie walked up to me, she said, hey, a bunch of us are getting together, like on Thursday, you want to go? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, not thinking anything of it. So 2 days go by, my phone rings at my house, it's Steph, she goes, you're gonna, I'll pick you up, and we're gonna go over here, we're gonna drink first, and we'll meet up with everybody. I'm like, what? I'm living with my brother at the time. I hang up the phone. My brother was one of the assistants to help me. My brother didn't follow the same rules that I did with students in the class. My staff never did. It was always creative. So I hung up the phone, and I go, I think it's a date. And he looked at me and he goes, you're an idiot. So, and from that,
take much to break that willpower. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
Strong, I'll never do this again.
Yeah.
How did you two meet?
How did we?
No.
No, I asked
It
him
took me a lot more phone calls. Are you finished with your version of that?
Yeah. How did we meet?
So I met Brett the first time. I was captaining a liveaboard in Fiji, and Brett came out, and the first thing I find out is they're going to these areas of Fiji. He's got a 2-week charter, and he wants to travel all around to these other islands in Fiji. I'm like, call the office. I'm like, no, he's not. You can't do that here. Because we have to have permission to dive everywhere, and Fiji has very much a tribal system, so the chiefs, you have to go in and negotiate with the chiefs, which can take a long time to find the right chief to get into these waters. And Brett's deciding he wants to go out and explore all these other islands because he's got 2 weeks to do it. So made that happen. Brett comes on board. First problem is my wife is a photo pro. This is back when we were developing E6 stuff. Brett decides to fire up a whole lot of marijuana in this inside the cabin, and it fills up the whole AC system. My wife is in this dark room, and it was not a contact high, it was a clam bake on the inside of this thing, and she comes out going, what is going on? I'm like, I don't know what's happening. She goes, I'm high. So I have to go down and meet Brett and tell him, Brett, you can't do that. Don't do that anymore. At the end of the charter, he goes, well, if you guys are ever done with this and you want to move on to a training agency, I'd love to interview you and see if you want to go in there. So that's how we met. I flew back. My wife and I flew back to Maine at the time and interviewed and decided we were ending a 5-year contract with the liveaboards and decided we wanted to do that. And that's how I met both of them at the same time.
I think the following weekend we were painting your house.
Probably, yeah. We flew back. It was right after a military coup. We were in a military coup in Fiji, and so we took all of our money out just in case something really went wrong, and flew home and decided we were going to take the job, and said, yeah, here's all of our money. We're going to fly back to end this contract and be done with this. And we bought a house. First time buying a house. Funny little side story. Real estate agent, now that communication is your time zones and everything being what they are, and we would go out for a week and there was no internet service or nothing. And we get back to an email and the real estate agent goes, the house is too close to a property line. I don't know anything about buying houses, but what do? Chop off a part of the house to make that happen? I mean, come on, this is gonna take me another week before I'm gonna get back to you on this thing. And he goes, oh, we just need to apply for a variance. Then do it. Just get taken care of. So that's how we met.
How and when did you join the SDI family? You kind of just answered that, Sean, but Brian.
So at the University of Rhode Island, I'm teaching the dive program. My phone rings one day, and somebody says, could you please hold for Brett Gillum? I'm like, what? Now, I've known Brett because I've been a TDI instructor for a while. The gentleman who I took the program from, he gave me the program at the University of Rhode Island. He's instructor number 3 of TDI, a gentleman by the name of David Sipperly. Dave was like my mentor in the diving industry, and he and Brett went off and made Now Israel. That's how I got the dive program. So I'd known Brett, and I'm like, who's messing with me? Why is Brett calling me? And next thing you know, he's on the phone. He goes, hey, Brett, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm sitting in my house. I happen to be working on my Atlantis rebreather at that moment. Yes, they did work. I have survived on that. But he asked me, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, I got a job opening, and I'd like to interview you for it. I'm like, okay. So I said, this is great. I can get it. At the time I was doing hardwood floors, hung up the phone. 2 days later, I was up in Maine interviewing with him. He said, okay, the interview with Brett was definitely interesting. Here I am going to an interview with a resume. I show up at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've driven a couple hours to get up there. He goes, oh, we're not interviewing right now. And then he starts asking me questions. Questions. He said, well, I have a resume. He goes, I don't need that. And he tossed it. I spent the night with him. He offered me a job. I started working.
Phrasing is pretty important.
Yes.
Backstory there.
Yeah. So.
One phone call.
Yeah, exactly.
See a pattern here.
Yeah. So, yep. Let's go. Didn't realize it. What happens? This is normal. This is normal. I put my foot in my mouth all the time. There are plenty of stories behind that. Stephanie is going to lose it in a minute. She chose this. But SDI started. I was the assistant for Brett at Uvatech, the dive computer company, and basically I ran around and did the things he wanted to. One day I walked into a conference room. He goes, hey, well, look at this. And he showed me a picture of the original SDI mark, the globe. I go, what's that? He goes, that's SDI, Scuba Diving International. That's the recreational arm of TDI. And I went, oh, that's cool. I go, I'm a NAUI guy. He goes, NAUI doesn't sign your checks. Good point. And I became an SDI instructor. So that's how I got it.
Right. Steph, let's hear yours.
Oh, God. It was 1998, so totally dating myself. I interviewed with Brett. Brian was working at Uvatech at the time, and I interviewed with Brett at TDI. So I joined TDI in '98, and I remember Brett. Anybody that knew Brett had no filter or tact. So I would be working on something, and he would routinely just throw whatever, he would just spit it out. So he threw something on my desk. He's like, I need you to look at this. I'm like, well, where is it in the priority? He's like, figure it out. So I'm like, well, all right. So it was the same thing that he gave Brian, and Brian was working at Uvatech. And so we were living together at the time, and I said, what are we gonna do with this? Because it was laid out in a really odd manner. And to Brian and Sean's credit, I mean, you weren't there yet,
Nope.
but Brian and I were looking at these standards. The way that our company standards flow, it's very methodical, and these were not in that form. So we had to take something that was basically somebody that verbally threw up on paper and just put all of their thoughts. We had to organize this into a training program, and I said, I am not qualified to do this, and just pretty much gave it to Brian. And Brian organized and created the SDI standards and made the original instructor guide what it was back then. So that was my little foray into it.
It wasn't just me. The original draft, the first draft was done by a gentleman by the name of Mishaps, who's still, he still heckles us and calls us. As a matter of fact, he sent me a text message the other day, another great mentor we worked under for a long time. But Cliff Semino, who is a Northeast sales representative, and he's the reason I got the phone call for Brett to being assistant. And specifically his wife, because his wife said to Cliff, if you don't find this guy a job, he's going to become your competition. So Cliff took me under his arm and wing, and I learned all the ropes of the industry, how the business side was done. But Cliff and I really got into the SDI standards, the original draft of it, and put it together. So,
Just to be clear, in case you missed that, Steph was working there first.
How did you, what about you, Sean?
What did I, how, the answer the question?
Yes.
So, well, I interviewed, yeah, and Brett was extremely generous. So we had a lot of time off. Our original plan was not to come back to Maine, but to travel around the South Pacific. And so when we came here, we had a month off because we were working long stretches. And when we got there, he's like, here's the key to my car, here's the key to my house. You guys just do what you want to do and take the next month and figure out if you want to work here. So we did that. And then when we came back, I'd never worked for an agency before. When I became an SDI instructor, I was already a TDI instructor, and I got this package in the mail. I was living in Hawaii at the time. I get this package with my renewal, and there's this thing in there with this card, and I thought it was a luggage tag, because our original SDI instructor cards were vertical, like, you know, when you're a minor and you get a driver's license. It's like, why the hell are they sending luggage tags? So that's when I became an SDI instructor, but was familiar with the format and everything from the TDI side. And then came into the agency, and that's when Brian and I started working there. That training is all I really knew. I didn't know, and supervising divers, and that's all I knew. But so I had to figure out the rest, and standards development was a big portion of that, and but fairly easy. Everything came really easy. A funny side story on standards development: the solo course. So first DEMA, and to put a year on this was I came to work we interviewed in 2000. Came back into the country at the end of 2000, and then 2001 is when I started. So that's when we started with the company officially. But before that, we were at DEMA. We agreed to just represent it at DEMA. That's when I learned about insurance, because I was told you're going to be sitting in the insurance booth. I don't know shit about insurance, other than I need it. So I figured that out really quick. And then my wife, being the photographer, Brett grabs her and says, come take a picture. So she goes over and takes a picture with Paul Human and a solo diving certification. And then she comes back and she goes, we have a solo course? Because my wife came to work for the agency.
Apparently.
News to us.
That's when Brian and I had to really put together standards quick. We've got a solo course, and they're going to talk to everybody about this.
3 hours.
3 hours.
From, we got a solo course to, yeah, put one together. What? And
That's how that happened.
Rodeo's Scuba Diving magazine came out with the article with the picture on it. And we were getting phone calls. We're like, what do we do? And that's how we came together. And I'll tell you what, that standard we put together didn't get much tweaking afterwards. It's pretty solid.
I mean, it was relatively easy for us because we were both technical instructors, so understanding independent diving and self-sufficiency was easy for us. We just had to figure out how to get it into a sport format that we could work with. Yeah, so that's how and when.
So looking back, if you could change one thing about SDI, what would it be?
Sean, you start.
Yeah, I'll start that one off. I think our The one thing that I would change and what I would consider a company failure was when we adopted the e-learning. We were the first ones to come out with it. And hold on, patience. That where we failed was we didn't teach the professionals how to teach using an e-learning tool. And that was it. We knew the customers. Joseph, why'd you stand up at that time? We knew that the consumers wanted that, and it was something, it was a format that they would be good with, but we didn't train the professionals properly on how to teach using that platform. And I think that if there's anything that I would change, is we would do a better job of first educating instructors on how to use this as a tool for their students, and how we were pretty good about mixing it because we had run a couple pilot courses on it, and we tried to mix courses where someone took a traditional manual and then we brought them into a class with people who had taken the online format, and the educational difference was so dramatic that was one of the first messages we put out was do one or the other. Don't try to blend those two courses because your students are they're not going to be prepared the same way. But I don't think we did a good enough job at the time. And then this goes back how many years now of doing that I don't think we did a good enough job of preparing the instructors to use that tool.
Steph.
We were kind of thrown into the lion's den when it came to SDI, and I guess maybe having a better plan going into it versus having to kind of clean up and acting kind of like FEMA. So getting in front of the mess would have been a lot easier had we had a strategy and a plan. And at that point, I didn't know any better. I didn't know that we could have slowed it down. We weren't truly in a rush. And I didn't really realize what kind of an uphill battle we were going to be fighting, which turned out to be a masterclass in business structure and strategy, because we were going up against giants at that point. And we had everything to lose. And I think that's what made us really powerful at that point, because TDI was an established brand, but it was so small. I mean, the technical market is tiny. If anybody went to Brian's talk, you can see the numbers. But going against the giants that were already in existence was hard. And having a strategy would have been a little bit better, but that's hindsight. And I was 22 at the time.
I mean, is that because you didn't know at the time how big it was going to be?
Well, this has exceeded anything that I think the three of us could have ever imagined.
Never know that.
We truly had no idea and were woefully unprepared.
And even though the technical market was small, we were the largest in the technical
Correct.
market.
Yeah.
But it was a relatively small market.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, when Stephanie started at TDI, it was in an office that was literally about from this the wall to here, and there were 3 people in the office. That's all it was.
3
it smelled
people
like Thai food.
and a wolf.
Oh yes, it smelled
And it
like
smelled like Thai food.
Yes, the Thai food. Yes, 3 people, and one of my coworkers had a wolf named Stanzi. She was gigantic.
Yeah.
And remember Stanzi?
Oh, yes.
Ooh, she would eat everything. She was amazing. She was probably 120 pounds, and nobody came into that office.
No.
Uninvited.
Nope. She was amazing.
Yeah.
And that's actually what started the love of dogs at TDI, was Stanzi.
That's cool.
She would take loaves of bread off her
Oh.
owner's counter at home, and she had all a bunch of plants in the house, and she would dig a hole in the plant pot and then put the loaf of bread inside it and cover it back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She,
what would I change? That's a really good question. As you go through the process, and the different roles that you've had and all along the way, you learn from your mistakes. And I'd like to say we're really good at our job. It's just because we made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I guess one of the things that I wish I had done better at and as I've gotten older and stuff like that, learning from mistakes, was better leadership skills in the beginning. I wish I had reached out to, there were some people that have helped me and mentor me. I had some really good people around me, but I also had some poor representation of leadership. So you don't know what to take. And in the last 8 years, 9 years, we now have we have like a full-time business coach from outside the thing, and that person is extremely valuable to our whole company. We provide outside leadership level training to all of our staff. Each year, one person gets nominated from the company to go through a county-wide leadership program. I wish we had implemented that a lot sooner, because as soon as that happens, seeing the development, seeing the growth of the people and how we communicate internally is excellent. One of the things I can tell you is we use this process called a DISC profile, okay? And basically it's not a personality, it's like how you communicate test. And everybody who comes into the company fills out this thing. It's like a 15-minute questionnaire. And it'll tell you what your traits are, what your habits are. And from that, I really learned a lot on how Sean and I have worked together for years. And Steph, all of us have. But Sean and I often would have lots of discussions about standards. Lots. Is this right? Is that right? And not agree on it. I think the longest we had was a year and a half.
Misadventure.
Discussion, we'll call it a discussion, on how it should be and why it should be done a certain way. And if I look back on that leadership level stuff and that communication disc profile would have implemented sooner. So, because communicating, it's easy for me to make a decision. I get there, I have to make a decision. It comes to me, I have to make a decision. Sean, he doesn't work, he doesn't like making decisions. He's really good at rephrasing it so that I have to make a decision, okay? And passing it. But what Sean's really good at is finding all the details, getting the data. So I'll give you an example of how it works and something like that. We go into a standards meeting with the RSTC. We've been on these boards for years. I go in and start talking, and I know to my left, I can get a note that Sean has researched more about this particular issue, knows every response every agency's gonna give because he knows their standards better than they know their standards, and he has it queued up with file system to be able to go, oh no, that's not right, this is what you said, this is what you said. So that relationship and the communication back and forth is amazing. If Sean...
I don't make decisions, I just need more information to make
No,
decisions.
when Sean makes a decision, I've learned,
Defend myself here.
don't challenge his decision because he's got way too much data. So,
Good question, Amanda.
yeah.
All right, so SDI has been around for a while, TDI has been around longer, but where do you see the company in 30 more years? Who wants
I see it from the outside, hopefully I'm retired. I'll come up with a different answer. But Steph, you should take that one first.
Thanks. Well, let's see. I see it as a steady growth. Explosive growth can be very difficult, but steady growth. I see it as continuing the way that it is when it comes to safety and standards, and having a solid moral and ethical compass, and having, more women in leadership roles. Follow that?
Oh, that's good.
Do you want to drop the mic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you got it. I'll
Yesterday-
decide my answer based on your two answers.
Yesterday, my presentation for how deep the tech diving market was immediately after the Navy military women's presentation. And anybody who didn't see that, you need to watch it. I sat there and went, I gotta follow that. It was amazing.
I
So,
was crying.
yeah, it was an amazing
They're impressive.
presentation. So, 30 years from now, the diving industry itself is shrinking, okay? It's getting smaller and smaller. We've seen an attrition with the number of stores. We've seen the number of people that are learning how to dive. It had been a decline. And you can look at the DEMA certification census on it. I hope in 30 years that we have some more equilibrium within the training bodies, the training organizations. It is headed that way, okay? And what I mean by equilibrium is, Hattie has done an amazing job building this industry up, okay? They did a great job. Unfortunately, they've been up at the top and the peak by themselves for a while. They haven't had anybody else to support, anybody. The only way this industry is going to change is if we can all get around the same table, at least a few of us, and start spending our revenue for advertising and marketing collectively. So that's my vision. I hope that's going to be there. I don't want to see any of them go out of business. I don't want to see any of that. I want to see us all come in line a little bit. So, and it's happening naturally. And then it's not a percentage, and it's not fighting over market share or something like that. It's now let's go outside of ours and do marketing programs that can encourage mountain bikers to do what we do, encourage skiers to do what we do. And that's where I hope to see SDI is a big part of as we go forward. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that one of the things that we see now right now is this consolidation of manufacturers, of agencies, and those kind of things, and they're beholden to investors and boards and things. And I hope that SDI doesn't lose what we have right now. I mean, you're essentially looking at most of the decision makers right now when it comes to SDI, and when you're answering to a bottom line, you have a different decision-making process. And I hope that doesn't happen, because it's that culture that we have that allows us to be a little bit more nimble, not as nimble as we were in the past. I mean, in the past, really, I mean, this is going to sound horrible, and we've corrected that. I just want to make sure everybody's aware, so don't come at me too hard. But we used to be able to make decisions right away. And it was primarily because we were only thinking about English as the primary language. Now we're putting stuff out in 12 to 13 languages. So whenever we make a decision, we have to look at all the areas where that decision has to change. And all those processes are now in place. So it takes a little bit longer. But it used to be someone would call me up and say, hey, Sean, there's a problem on the e-learning platform. There's a typo, and we need to get this corrected. I could log in, I could make that correction, and I'd say refresh. And it was immediate. It was that fast. We don't have that anymore. We can't do it because we have to look at all the other things that are in place. It still happens quicker, but I think it's even slower when you're looking at investors who are doing that, and they're looking at it as, if you make that change, it's going to affect this bottom line. We don't think about that. The bottom line is certainly a consideration for us because we have bills we have to pay, but I think we're able to make decisions based on morals and ethics better than others.
All right, and here's a good one. How do you keep the family feel going from a medium-sized company to what is now a large company? How do you keep it family? Steph's got the best answer probably.
We keep the dysfunction in there.
We hire people like you.
I think we're ego destroyers. So anybody that walks into our office, are we hiring on talent? Yes. Are we hiring more on personality, and will they fit? 1,000%. Anybody that walks into the office needs to come in with a sense of humility, because the rest of us have that. It comes to a base level of respect, irrespective of who you are, what your belief system is. When you walk through our building, you will get the base level of respect that you deserve as an individual. And I would expect that back to me. The three of us clean the toilets. I am consistent. I will make somebody a cup of coffee. He works remote, so he's got like one toilet. We bring our dogs to work. Anybody that's been to the office knows we are very, canine friendly. There's one in the back. His name is Shadow, and Auntie misses him. But we know the names, obviously, of everybody that puts their trust in us to work with us, not for us, with us. That is a big, big thing there. Who their spouses are, who their kids are, what their kids' interests are, the names of their puppies. And keeping that feel is important, because as you start to lose that, you become out of touch with where you're trying to lead this ship, if you will. So that I think keeping the humility, the moral ethics and compass is dead set north. We do not veer from that. That is paramount, because I think the three of us at the end of the day need to be able to know that when we put our heads on our pillows, we have done everything within our power to make this sport as safe as it possibly can be without sacrificing people. It's people, not a dollar, it's people. So that's my 2 cents.
I should have taken that one first.
Yeah, you should.
You got that, you're next. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I think that it is people, and realizing that when people come into your workplace, if on the personal side of their life, things are being addressed and taken care of, then they're gonna operate better on the work side of their life. So if things are kept in a balance and priority like that, that's certainly it. Also, listen to them. One of the problems with the industry is we're always talking about the genders and trying to get more women involved in diving, which certainly needs to happen. We're also trying to drive the age group down. We're trying to look at the next generation, and we don't want to stop them. We want to keep them moving. That means you have to listen to their ideas. I sit on a school board at home, and I was asked the previous question before, what are we doing in our educational system, and what does it look like 30 years from now? That's a hard question to answer. But the way you start answering that question is looking at the younger generation and finding out what triggers them, what motivates them, and how do we keep going. If you think that your ideas are current, they're probably not, because especially mine, I'm too old to have current ideas, so I want to know what that is. It doesn't mean they're not going to be challenged. They're going to be challenged because we have to look at the whole picture, and sometimes that's where somebody's idea doesn't look at the whole picture of things and address those questions. So, okay, I like your idea, but what do you think? How is this going to be addressed if we apply it here, or what's going to happen when we shift it to this? And as long as they can work out those things, you're not going to, you don't want a yes person in there. You want someone to be in there to give you those ideas, but they're going to be challenged. And I think that that's how we maintain that, we maintain our business and everything. And Jill, my ADD is kicking in. Your light's on your phone. We've been coping with that for a few minutes. That's all right.
I was looking at it too, I was like, ooh.
All right, I'm ready to go.
Oh, no.
How do we keep the culture? This is how we keep the culture.
Oh my goodness.
There's so many different directions I could go with this on it, and we work for a living, we don't live to work, okay? There are times when we really, really buckle down and we support one another, but it's amazed me if you show respect to the people that you work with on a regular basis, it comes back tenfold. It's unbelievable. And there's been a few times in this company, I mean, I got 10 stories. I'm trying to figure which one I want to do. It's real personal, okay? I mean, I'm gonna do 2 things here. Which way I'm gonna go? I will.
I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
There have been multiple times where something tough in our life has occurred, okay? And one of the days that I remember very vividly in the company, and this should be a little bit longer story, but it's a good one, is Sean walks in. Sean and I are working together. He's doing one side of the company, I'm doing the other side of the company. Stephanie's doing another side of the company. So we're all kind of 3 of us zigging out. It's very early on, and when the company's changed hands. And Sean and I are traveling a lot. We're all over the place. He walks into my office and goes, I can't, in another 2 months, I'm not gonna be able to travel for 6 months. And I go, what? Oh, what's this mean? He goes, Paley's pregnant. I went, oh, that is awesome. His wife. I said, I got you, man. I got it. I'll carry the travel. I'll go ahead and take the travel and do what we need to do. And so I said, payback's gonna come someday, okay? A couple of years later, I walk in the office and I just say to Sean off the cup, couple months, I'm not gonna be able to move. I'm not gonna be able to go travel for 6 months. And he's like, what? And then he went, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. So, our son was on the way. But when our son was born, Stephanie's and mine, he was born with a birth defect. Basically, he had to have quasi-brain surgery inside of the first 3 months. So, and we found out this like day 1 that he was born. So we went, Stephanie and I, working full-time in the company to immediately where Stephanie's totally out of helping with the company. And I'm literally working at about 40% capacity of my thing. 6 months turned into a year of really pulling it together, and he carried the torch. So next man up, that's the way it's always been for everybody in our company. Next person up, everybody's got each other's back. And there are so many times that people have picked me up when I've had a bad day, or tough, and we've all lost friends to accidents and stuff. And it's amazingly to me that the people that we have around us, we got it, we got it, we got it. This show that we're doing, the party that we've done, this room that's being run right now, literally Stephanie and I were told, show up sometime on Monday, we got it. And later today, they're kicking us out. Sorry.
Son's running a race.
I haven't reached that level because I'm here till tomorrow. But
That's because you're flying home direct. You're going remote, okay? So, but that humility of somebody helping out the next person, and it just happens over and over and over again. The last night, the drinks, the specialty drinks. Did anybody pick up the specialty drinks? Yeah. They're named after first off, the Three Paw Paradise. Was Jessie, not two-legged Jessie, three-legged Jessie, which was a border collie that ran around our office for a number of years, Alan's dog, keeping us all happy. We lost her. Everybody took care of Jessie. I took care of Alan and made sure Alan was okay and took care of him. I think Stephanie and I lost one of our puppies, Luna, and little Luna, who she's kind of like the alpha of the whole thing, and we lost her, and then I don't know if she is there. Sorry, I don't mean it. We just lost Big Luna, who is our big cat German Shepherd, that was a huge part of our office and just wandered around and put smiles on everybody's face about a few days ago, which happens to be Viv's dog. So the team literally came up with Three Paw Paradise in 2 moons. We had no idea. So it's just that kind of stuff all over, all the time. It just blows me away. So that's why we
Make
keep.
me cry, stop.
Yeah.
Next question?
yeah, next question. Make it a hard one.
Yep.
That's it, that's the end of them.
Oh, God. Oh.
Crap.
All right, it's go time.
Yeah, anybody but him?
So first of all, thank you for doing this. I know it's usually fun, but sometimes it's also hard to get into those subjects, so thank you from us to you. But it's funny how each of these questions also lead me to that next thing where we talked about the growth of the organization, how you got involved, and then how meaningful it has been, and support, and the youth coming in and how we attract them, and then the shops closing and then the rebranding that happened last year, the one that family. So my question is, how do you, as an organization that is not exploding, but carefully, slowly exploding, how do you, when we look at SDI being in the positives for growth as compared to the other agencies, how do we then make sure that this trickles down to the shops, to the instructors, that one dive family mentality, which is very evident being here. But if you're not here, it's not always seen. We were here when it was branded. Kay and I were here at the ITW when you launched it, and we took it back and we're like, yep, that's our MO. How does that trickle down? How does that manifest now through all of us? Thank you.
So the dive centers, I mean, it's kind of a two-part answer, but our philosophy has always been the dive centers have to be open, the instructors have to be teaching for us to be in business. Without you, there's nothing we can do. I mean, we can have the best products, but if you're not there, if your doors aren't open and you're not teaching classes, then we're nothing. So that's always in the forefront of our mind whenever we're thinking about that. The rebranding was a big deal because, as you heard, TDI was our basis, and that's where we started from. And there was always that concern of what's going to happen. Are people going to think that TDI is going away? And it's not going away. It's never going away. So there's that part of it. The part that I struggle with is our philosophical difference, how we view training, how we do things. And our overall goal is to grow the pie. We want to build the industry. We don't want to just build our piece of it, because that's where the challenge comes in. Whenever we start taking on members from other agencies, we start morphing into those agencies, and we're always conscious of that because we want our own identity. We have our own way of doing things, whether it's risk management or how we teach, the practices and the way we teach, the freedom we give our educators to go out there and teach the programs that we have. And we don't want to change into something else because we believe that's how it's attractive. And I always use examples of people will move to a new location. Hopefully nobody here is from Las Vegas, but you look at all the people that moved to the desert because they went out there and they stopped having their allergies, and then suddenly they realized they wanted their plants and they wanted all these other things, and they just brought everything back with them and created all the things that they ran away from. And we don't want that. We want to keep our own identity. We want, if you like SDI, if you like TDI, and you like the philosophy in our training materials and what we do, then embrace it. And that's where you want to be. As somebody who's lived in other countries, I try to embrace those cultures and be part of that culture and understand it and live that, not take the American and put it into that culture. That's my answer.
Good answer.
We work for you. That's what it really comes down to from the dive center. So the only way we can do that is try to earn your respect every day. So, so if we set that example and we help you, our organizational flow chart of the company has the three of us at the bottom. Actually, you're moving to the bottom. You didn't know that. You've been kind of up. You're going further down.
Obviously, we're in the social media age. I see a lot of things on Facebook. I guess I'm looking for a kind of a shorter answer. People are always like, I want to learn how to dive, and what's the best agency? I see a lot of posts that say it's really not the agency, it's the instructor, it's the end product. It's how do you get from A to B? Without writing what Sean just said, why SDI is what SDI is, can you suggest a short answer, like so people don't have to read a book on social media, just a comment and say, maybe you want to go to SDI for this reason? Does that make sense?
What are you want me to
Is
say?
my mic on? Can you get, okay, perfect. That, I guess I would challenge that and continue to flip it where it's yes, the agency is involved, but it's not us that is the special sauce, it's you guys. So flipping that, every time we see that, to flip it to be, here's why you need to learn to dive with me, with my shop, with me as an individual. These are the tools that I have put in my toolbox to educate you to be a safe and have a safe and fun experience. The agency is the vehicle, but I am behind the wheel. So that, figuring out how to put that in a social media reel is not my forte, but finding somebody that can craft that message so that the subject matter expert is you, not us. We are not the subject matter expert when it comes to your student. You are. You're in the water with them. You're teaching them. You're learning their personality. You're the best resource for that individual. We just give you the tools that you need to do it. How to make that a message, I am not sure. I lean to Jordan in the back.
And I just want to support that really quickly and give you a personal example. The first dive shop I worked for, we had 110 instructors, 5 course directors on staff. And we ran, I don't know how many trips, 30 plus trips all around the world. So we had a very successful business.
Yeah.
They started with one agency, they switched over to another one, seamless. There was no issue. And the reason why they were able to do that is exactly what Stephanie just said. It's not about the brand that you're going to be teaching with. It's about what they want to accomplish. The diver wants to become a diver. They just understand that brand. And we always use that example, and this always comes up in our internal discussions, is do you want a Kleenex or do you want a tissue? I mean, what are you looking for? Really, they need a tissue. They don't care what you hand them. but they're putting the trust in you that you've done that, you've gone through that process, and you understand that this is the one that you want to teach with, and it's the one that fits you best as a professional. So, I mean, my thing would be change your messaging, and because I know it's successful, I know it works.
And just real quick, so I'm a new dive professional, I dive from high school. I'm not interested in becoming an instructor, although I have a lot of people. But I'm running a youth nonprofit. running a youth nonprofit, I work with a lot of young people that, when I surveyed them prior to introducing them to the world of scuba, 97% would say they don't have a sense of belonging. They don't have a connection with community. They feel like they're alone. What I noticed about SDI from the beginning is really you guys set the standard, set the culture of helping us understand we are one dive family. And you guys uniquely do it. So I'm a dive master, but I'm SSI, Patty, came Patty first and SDI, but you guys are the only ones that have really emphasized that culture of that one dive family. So that creates that sense of belonging. And I noticed it instantly when I could just call you guys. You guys are there to answer the phone and help me. It's just that humility and that respect that you show us. So if we just mimic what you guys are giving, like what you guys see. No, I still don't think so. But the seeds that you're planting with just our interaction, and even from a shop owner that was Patty and SDI, and he switched over to 5-star, SDI. He said the same thing to me in the beginning, and I see it, So you guys keep doing everything that you guys have been doing to create that culture of love and humility and family, and just everybody in this room, we do the same, and we're bringing people in to be under one thing.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
So that's the real, right there.
Yeah.
That's the real.
Damn.
All right. Thank y'all so much.
Oh,
for everything.
Oh.
No, Jason, you're not allowed to have questions.
Oh, he gets one.
Yeah, I get one. Don't start. I was gonna ask you, like, dive with megalodons, but. My one question for you guys is, what's your why? Why are you here?
Oh, man.
Wait, is that a today question or is that an overall question?
Overall.
Oh, man. Jason.
He's just turning it around on you because that's the question you always ask.
I know. Well, you want, okay. So I've said it, you may have heard me say this before, but my very first, like working at the university, I worked under the guy by the name of John McAniff, who was Divers Alert Network before there was a Divers Alert Network. And if you died diving, your gear ended up in his office. And he did the accident analysis on why the person passed away. And I worked under him for 7 years and research and doing all that. And I learned a lot along the way. And I learned that, standards are important. People are getting hurt, this kind of stuff. And what can we do better? I'm not done changing industry standards. Sean and I have been working on this challenge for years. Mark Powell is a big part of this as well, in the back and helping with Europe. The industry standards, equipment has gotten it's unbelievably more advanced in the last 20 years. Technology has gone up, amazing, computers, everything, we got a ton of data. The number of people learning how to dive is decreasing, okay? So we've got one thing going up, the number of people learning how to dive is decreasing. We know those numbers. The number of fatalities is maintaining the same year over year. So we still have the same fatality numbers, yet the numbers are getting smaller and the equipment is advanced. What's the one thing that hasn't changed and improved? Overall industry standards. From the bottom, I'm talking about the minimum standards that are set forth. They have to go up. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep fighting this battle in these boardrooms, trying to convince my competitors, or the competitors we work with, the other training agencies we work with, that this is the right thing to do. Because I take it, regardless of whether or not It's an SDI, TDI something. I can tell you right now, every time we hear about a fatality, I can say this, when it's an SDI, TDI diver, somebody's been trained, we take that very, very personally. And 3 times a year my phone rings, and I get that thing that a dive professional of SDI, TDI, he's no longer with us from a diving incident. We push the extremes with TDI, it's there. With ERDI, public safety, same things, there's no way to make it totally safe, but those things impact me a lot, and I got a lot more energy, and I'm gonna keep going until so we can have less things happen like we're dealing with now. So.
You want to go? You want me to go?
This is based on a book by Simon Sinek called It Starts With Why. And it's a deep dive into basically stripping it all away and figuring out what makes you tick. And I originally thought it was my kid. My why started in 1920. Her name was Adalia Parati, and she was my grandmother. She was born poor and died poor. Everything in between was to give us the opportunity to have a better life. It's a generation. It's a generational. I feel it in my DNA that there have been very powerful women in my line that have sacrificed to get me to the point of where I am now. I'm the first one to graduate college in my family, both sides, and to break the chains of generational poverty and just disrespect. I feel very personally about that, to make a change, to try and open up at least this industry to endless possibilities, because there have been voices for a long time that have been silenced based on who they are, where they came from, what they look like. And it's not correct. It's disrespectful, and I can't even imagine how much just humanity as a whole has lost out on because these voices have been silenced. So that is my why. It is to make a change, and that a door was opened for me, and I walked through the door. It's to open the door for others so that they can walk through and be better. That's my why. Does it have to do with diving? Yes, but it's a generational change. It's a shift.
My why has changed. When I first started in this sport 30-something years ago, it was because I loved it, and I had a passion for the sport. Wreck diving, diving anywhere, being underwater was my why. That's what I wanted to do. Became an instructor, and it was just passing on that same passion and love for just diving anywhere and enjoying wherever you are at that moment to dive. When I joined the agency, now I did, as I mentioned, I worked for that dive center, so high volume dive center, a lot of teaching, inland waters, a lot of trips and doing those things, became a boat captain, worked in 3 different locations for that, supervised thousands of divers. And then when I came to work for the agency, I shifted more towards Brian's side. And it's like, I look at these things, and I was put through some pretty challenging conditions, whether it was weather, diving environments, high currents, deep possibilities, all these other things. And thankfully, I had no incidents or accidents, never lost a single diver. So not to sound egotistical, but I know it can be done. I know diver tracking is possible. I know you can do head counts and do good head counts to make sure you have all divers on board in challenging conditions or benign, easy conditions. So when I see these incidents and accidents come in, I don't find them acceptable, because I feel like somebody needs to be there and paying attention of what's going on to track it. So I think that lends to what Brian was saying. The standards need to be better, and we need to develop better, more prudent dive professionals.
Question for you, Sean. What's the standard where do we have to have that influence? What standard in particular?
Well, so this is the balance, the business balance of it. It's, we can raise our standards. We can do that, then we're at a marketing disadvantage. So as an agency, we have the highest possible standard, and we have examples of that. And this is no disrespect to GUE. GUE is a great training agency, has very high standards. They expect a lot out of their dive professionals and out of their divers, but look at their market share. So that's an example. They're able to stay there in that position, but they can't grow. They can't get out to the broader market. So we have to strike that balance, and we have to do it within the RSTC, or we have to do it within the ISO to make sure those standards are raised so that all of our competitors are upholding that same high level of standard. That's the only way it's going to work. And then we can improve the industry overall. Did that answer the question?
Kind of.
I think we're time. We're at 11:01.
Yeah, we're out of time, so I can't answer anymore.
No.